Well, hey there everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Adam, thanks for hanging out with me again today. And today, well, we have the Nissan R91CP all finished up. So, you guys have seen the, build video of the chassis. I am terrible about taking pictures of doing bodywork and getting all those steps documented. Mainly just because it's so involved and, there's not a whole lot to see until kind of after it's done. So, not a whole lot of pictures to go along with this one, but this one should be fairly short. This is basically a tips video for you guys that are going to start building your own. I'm going to start with kind of what I didn't get done in the last one, which is the tires. So, the tires on these they're a pain. Even if you've done them before, they're kind of nerve-wracking to do. So tips for the wheels is go ahead and paint the wheels first. I did mine first because I did not want to get any paint onto the foam, and I wanted to get the foam right to the edge of the wheel. So I painted the wheels first, and that way I could kind of roll the paint over a little bit onto the inside part of the wheel where the tire mounts. So there's no black lines or anything. Everything is nice and sharp. What I did with mine is I used the chrome paint pens you can get off Amazon or wherever and painted them on. Now the rears are 2-piece, the fronts are 1-piece. So the fronts are really easy. You just basically just go around the wheel with the paint pen, follow the lines, easy squeezy. The rears, the main part of the rear wheel is basically just a big drum. So you have to paint in, a 1/4 inch or so of that drum with the chrome, and then the cover you have to paint the outside edge of that. So it's just a little bit different than the front, but basically get your fronts painted and then paint the rears to match. The insert, basically you just have to paint the edge of the insert, and then you're basically painting the inside of the wheel. It's not terribly difficult. Mounting the tires, the biggest tip I can give you guys, especially if you've never done them, make sure you're paying attention to what part of the tape you're using. When you go to put the tape onto the wheel, you want to peel off the paper backing, not the plastic. You want the plastic backing to stay on. And so you peel off the paper, you wrap the wheel with the tape, and you want to get it kind of as close to the edge as possible, but you don't have to get it right up to the edge. I left like a 1/16 of an inch all the way around. And basically I peeled off some, kind of set it on the wheel, and had a little bit sticking off of the end, and then the rest sticking off over here. And then I could kind of eyeball it and bend the tape back and forth, and then once I got it to where it looked straight, I rolled the small end down and then worked it around the tire. The reason you want to leave that plastic on is you're pulling this out from underneath of the tire. So when you go to mount the tire, you start peeling the plastic back and you kind of fold it over to 45. So you have a tab sticking off of this end and a tab sticking off this end, and you want the tape to go kind of the same way around on the tire. Once you slide the tire on, the rears slide on very easily. They just kind of slide right on. The fronts are very tight. You kind of have to stretch those and work them around. Now, you don't want to mess with the exposed glue part of the tape much, but it's kind of one of those adhesives to where it doesn't bond super tight right away. It has to sit there for a while, and then once it sits there for a while, then it gets a good bond. But anyway, you want to leave that plastic on because basically you're going to rip this out of the side of the wheel. So you gotta have to go around, and you're slowly pulling the plastic out as you're going around the wheel. So that's why they have this really tough plastic on there. I am sure somebody in the past has done it with the paper side out and really, really wrecked their day. So make sure you're doing that right. Now, before anybody asks, yes, the front tires are narrower than the wheels. Why Tamiya still does this, I don't know. Either make the wheels the right size for the tire, or make the tires the right size for the wheel. It's just silly. But basically, you're mounting them to the very outside edge of the rim, and the rest is just on the inside. You don't ever see it when the body's on the car, so it doesn't matter. It just looks goofy when you're doing it because you've got literally a 1/4 inch, 8-9 millimeters showing of wheel for no reason. So the tires are probably the trickiest part. The paint kind of comes in a second, but it's not that difficult. The biggest thing for the paint, for me, was taking a fine line Sharpie. So the reason you want to use one of these ultra fine tip Sharpies is you're trying to get a very crisp line drawn onto the body where the red meets the white and the white meets the blue. Unfortunately, the body molding lines in this are molded very faintly. Even like the windows, trying to put the decals on the windows, some of those were even really, really hard to follow. But up front, they seem to be molded pretty well. Like from here forward, everything was molded nice and deep. You had a significant line you could actually see and trace. Once you got from here back, they just kind of disappear. I literally had to hold it up to the light and make tick marks on the protective film with the Sharpie, and then kind of come back and fill them in. It just, especially this blue white area back here, was next to impossible to see, and some of this coming down the sides around here on the red white were really, really difficult to see. So the worse your eyes are, the harder it's going to be to see all that. So fine tip Sharpie, trace them all out. That way when you put your tape on, you have something your tape to follow, or over tape it and come back and cut it. That's what I did with mine, is I kind of ran the tape right around so the line is here. I had tape on this side, tape on this side. So I ran the tape here and just came in and cut it with the razor knife. You do get some red and white stickers and some blue or some white stickers that you can put on here to clean up your lines a little bit. The problem is, I painted mine the red in the book, and then I backed it with white to make sure it stayed bright. Put 2 or 3 coats of white on the back, and then I backed everything with black. It didn't change colors when I backed it with black, but there's a noticeable difference in the sticker color versus the paint color. May not pick it up on camera, but I can see it. So right around this front canopy, there's red all the way around, and it just does not match. It is what it is. But yeah, masking it off is a little tricky. Right up here, I got a little fuzzy where the line goes across kind of the louvered front end. I got a paint bleed here that I did not notice until after the white and all the backing and everything was on, so I wasn't trying to scrub through 4 or 5 layers of paint to get the blue off and then recoat it. Over here, the white was a little bit light, so when you're spraying this, there's a lot of little dips and recesses and stuff, so keep rotating your body, keep putting paint on from different directions, because if you do the same thing the same way every time, you're going to end up with stuff like that. I did pretty good everywhere else, that spot was a little light. The wing, this one is different. Normally when you get a wing like this, they tell you, paint it blue, and then there's a big red sticker that goes on here, and then all your other stickers. This one, they're telling you have to paint the top red and the bottom blue, so you have to mask that off and paint it just like you did the other colors on the body. So I did the blue first, I backed it in white. So I did the blue first and I backed it in white. Then I had the body masked off underneath, so the white was all taped off, and the center of the body was just taped off with a plastic bag. I actually used the sticker bag out of the kit, laid it on the inside, traced it around, cut it out, taped that down, and I just folded the excess over the rear, put a piece of tape back here, and that worked great to keep any of the overspray off of the red area so I could paint the blue. Backed it in white, and then I was able to pull that plastic off, paint the red one. I did the exact same thing up here, pulled the masking off, painted it red, backed it in white. Then, and at that point I peeled off all the white and just sprayed everything with white. And then I did a final coat with black, just so the underneath is dark and you're not seeing different shades of anything. But go back to the wing real quick. For the wing, I suggest going ahead and painting the wing sides. So one side is going to remain clear, so you're going to paint it just like the body. So I painted blue on. When I did the white on the blue, I painted white on the blue, and instead of backing it with black, I backed it with blue again, so the other side of the wings down here are still blue. Now the body is backed in black, so there is a little bit of black showing there. I could have gone back and sprayed a little bit of blue in there, but black or blue, it kind of blends in. Just as long as it's not white, so, or red or something like that. You know, you don't want a contrasting color in there, black, or, you know, go back in and spray some blue on there at the end or something just to get rid of your overspray or your other colors. So again, like I said, I did have some runs. So every time you go to change colors, check to make sure you don't have any runs. When you pull your tape, clean them up with some polycarbonate cleaner. Like I said, I missed that one. I knew I had a little bit of fuzzy bleed down here, but it was going to make too much of a mess to try to clean that up. So I just left that one. It was kind of one of those things. It's a little bit of a problem now, but I could easily make it a bigger problem by trying to clean it up. So I left that. Other than that, everything, I mean, like I said, I don't want to make it sound like it's terribly difficult. I'm just trying to help give you guys some tips on, you know, getting things done. Mounting the interior, you're mounting it with the Velcro. So basically I put the Velcro on the interior portion. And then I didn't peel the tape off of the top, so the Velcro was still stuck to the Velcro, or hook and loop, whatever you want to call it. The top part that sticks to the body, I left the paper on that, put it underneath there, and got it centered kind of where it needed to be, and then marked it with the Sharpie. I basically put little line. Oh, you can't even see. But I put a line on the edge of this one, this side, edge on this side, and edge up here, and then traced all around it so I could physically see where it was going to be. Then I could pull the interior back out, pull the paper off the tape, and stuck it back down in there. He's a little far forward, but at this point, it looks fine. Looks great. He's not complaining, so I'm good with it. But yeah, it is done. Now I'm not going to get it out for a run today. Unfortunately, I'll get it up on the pedestal and do some 360 shots, maybe take some up close pictures of, you know, looking through the windshield and stuff. But it turned out good. It's not great, but it's good. Oh, one other tip. They tell you to put stickers on at random times in the manual. These you have to put on first because you have to run screws down through them, and if you put the screws on first and you try to put decal over there, you're going to have a big bubble in your decal and you're going to try to cut it out. It's going to make a mess. Put those on first, cut the decal where it goes into the hole just so your holes are clear, and then you actually screw these light buckets in. There's 2 down here and 2 up here that these light buckets are physically bolted in. Kind of better than the tape, but I kind of like the tape better because you don't see all the screws holding it together. But that's the way it is, so that's the way we went with it. Yeah, I can't really think of anything else. I think I've covered everything I can think of. I'm not a terrible fan of this wing mount, but it just, the whole wing is kind of floppy. And I feel like the wing mount should be canted forward a little bit because it's barely covering in here. I don't know. But it rolls super smooth. And I think it's going to drive really great. I'll probably get this over to Al's. I'll bring the Porsche 956. Same thing, different car. The Porsche. And we'll probably run them around at the commuter lot or something. These are going to need a bigger room than just his driveway. But I'm going to leave you guys off with some up-close pictures, video of it. Everybody out there, as always, you guys be happy, be healthy, be safe, and I will catch you guys on the next one. See ya.